Welcome back, horror fam, to day 15 of our Halloween countdown. Tonight's theme is all about what's lurking on the other side. The unknown that hides behind doors, windows, and even walls. I've got 3 terrifying stories tonight. First, Knocking, an award-winning creepypasta. Then we'll dive into Tap Tap, a horror short that will make you think twice. And last, but certainly not least, we'll step into the eerie world of the Backrooms, where reality itself shifts, and once you're in, there's no way out. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and remember, never open the door.
Adam Boyer was last seen a week ago. When the police arrived, they found his apartment was left in a state of disarray. There were papers left out that had their writing scribbled over and scratched out. There were books on the floor that looked like they fell off the shelf. But the strangest thing about Adam's disappearance was his doors and windows. The windows and doors were all locked and barricaded from the inside.
Being at home is one of the safest... What the... Being at home is one of the safest... Oh, seriously. Don't come in! I'm naked! Being at home is one of the safest... Son of a...
It started when I was 6 years old. I was in school. It was the middle of a reading lesson, and I needed to pee. Badly. At that age, a few classmates still wet themselves, and I always got paranoid about embarrassing myself in public like that. I stuck my hand up and told Miss Zebby that I needed to use the bathroom. She gave me the key to the handicapped access bathroom. It was the closest to my classroom. It was the middle of 5th period, and the corridors were empty. I was short, scrawny back then. I sometimes had trouble with doors, especially unlocking them. I fumbled for a good minute or two trying to open the blasted thing. Anyway, as I sat on my porcelain throne, there came a knocking at the door. "Someone's in here," I called, disgruntled at this disturbance. There came a pause. Then the knocking resumed. It was faster now, more determined. "Wait a minute!" The knocking slowed, and a voice replied, "Let me in. I need to come inside." The speaker's tone was thin and reedy. An adult I didn't recognize. I may have been 6, but I also had a fairly good understanding of bathroom etiquette. Mainly that you didn't let more than one person into an area only slightly larger than a cupboard. "Go away!" The knocking intensified again, until it was a frantic drumbeat, just a few feet from me and out of sight. I heard the voice shouting something, growing more and more desperate. "Let me in! Just open the door, please!" I was terrified by that point. The hammering and yelling was so loud, and yet nobody came to investigate it. Eventually, my teacher came to find me, angry because I had been gone for so long. When I refused to open the door to let her in, she got the spare key from the main office, and then took me to the principal to have my parents called. I was suspended for the rest of the week. I never told anyone what happened. I was just glad it was over. At least, I thought it was over. My next encounter with this phenomenon happened a month later. We were having a family barbecue for my 7th birthday. It was a beautiful sunny day. My dad had everything ready to go, but the coal refused to light. He asked me to go and get some fire starters from the shed at the side of the house. It was pretty cramped inside. I wouldn't fit all the way in, so I just opened the door, stood on tiptoes, and reached the shelf holding the fire starters. Then I shut the door behind me. As I turned away, a frantic knocking hit the other side of the door. "Open up! I need to come through!" This voice was not the one that I'd heard the month before. It was deeper, more brooding and angry. I said nothing and hurried away. I had no idea what was happening. but it frightened me. As I walked away, there came a final thump, like a fist being slammed against the wood. "You little bastard! I'll rip out your goddamn teeth! Open this door!" I ran back to my party and spent the rest of the day glancing over my shoulder. As you might have guessed by now, there were a lot of these voices. I counted at least 30. Every month or so I used to get them, pleading to be let through the doors. Almost always it would be immediately after I shut a door behind me, as though these strange entities had been following me. I never told anyone, but to be honest, I kinda just got used to it. It always made me jump, and some of the voices would make me feel uneasy. But I knew that I was safe, so long as I did not open the door. I even got used to some of the voices, to the extent that I even named them. There was one which always used to appear at my front door at home. We have a frosted glass, and I could see a silhouette of an average-sized man wearing a cap of some kind. He never spoke, but occasionally would push envelopes containing blank pieces of paper under the door. I called him the postman. He was one of the more unsettling ones. If I tried to speak to him, he would look up sharply, then begin knocking. I generally left the postman alone. 20 years later, and I've retained as much normality as possible. I have plenty of friends, and even have an on-again, off-again girlfriend. Not bad for a guy who wakes up in the middle of the night hearing voices on the other side of doors. Yeah, my buddies think I'm strange and kooky, but they put up with it. They're all great. I will miss them. You see, things have started to get strange. Well, stranger than usual, I suppose. Stranger than I'm used to. 3 weeks ago, I woke up sweating and crying, though I don't know why. My dream had been, from what I can remember, fairly normal, when a huge shadow had abruptly fallen over everything. Literally, the second I opened my eyes, there came a knocking at my bedroom door. Not just a normal knocking, though. This was truly frantic. "Who goes there?" I yelled. Please help us," it replied. I was surprised. It was the sadistic, angry voice that I remember from my father's shed on my 7th birthday. But it seemed genuine, sincere. There was a pained tone to it, as though the speaker were wounded. I actually found myself pulling back the sheets to get up, but I hesitated. I had never before been tempted to open the door. I suppose, as a child, I had so rigorously drummed into my head the idea of whatever lay beyond was evil, that it was just common sense. To be quite honest, I came very close to letting that thing into my room that night. Things got worse. Just 2 days later, I was in my local corner shop. I just paid for a bottle of milk and a newspaper when a great force slammed against the shop door. Simultaneously, a voice began screaming, a long, keening squeal of pain. I whipped around to face the door, but there were so many flyers plastered over the glass that I could only just make out the shape of a woman on the other side, slapping her palms against the window. The shopkeeper stared at me like I was crazy. In the end, I asked if he had a bathroom I could use, murmured some half-thought excuse, and hid there for 10 minutes until the screaming stopped. There were 4 more incidents between then and now, a mixture of screams and tearful begging. The postman stopped by yesterday too. He knocked politely before sliding his usual papers under the door. A total of 10 plain brown envelopes. The postman waited for a few minutes, knocking occasionally, and then left me alone. Each letter contained a sheet of paper, but somebody had taken a black pen to the pages, scribbling and shading them with such vigor that there were large tears around the center, and the edges were frayed. I shoved them back into their envelopes and tried to put it from my mind. Later on, my front door started shaking violently. It wasn't a scream, or a howl, or a roar that I heard. It was just crying. Dozens and dozens of voices, quietly crying. Another blow struck my door. Plaster flaked from the walls, and books fell from the shelf. Still no pleas or bargaining, just crying. I jumped from my chair. I could hear the wood of the door starting to give under the pressure. My phone began to ring, and I could hear the sharp tapping of the glass of my window behind the curtains. I tried answering the phone, but it was more voices crying. But not just crying, more like bawling in terror. I hung up, but it kept ringing, so I took the battery out. I shoved most of my furniture against the door and window. It has been 3 hours since this latest attempt at entry began. The battering and crying haven't let up. I'm fairly sure that my door won't hold much longer. As for my mediocre barricade, it would be easily pushed aside by anything that could take down a door. What do they want? Do they even want to hurt me? They seemed fearless, even malicious before. What could have driven them to this? Maybe I should open the door. Maybe I should let them in. Silence fell. I realized that even the crying stopped. For a whole minute I sat there. Then I got up and hurried to my door, eager to escape this claustrophobic nightmare. Perhaps I'd go outside, where I could be far away from any doors and that damned knocking. I pulled away my barricade and turned the handle. Locked? I peered through the peephole. It was black, like it was being covered. I got on my knees to see if I could see anything from the keyhole. Beyond my front door was not the corridor that I remembered, but another room. Some kind of library, or classroom, I think. It seemed unoccupied, but for one kid, sitting and reading with his back to me. I banged the door. Hey! Hey, kid! Let me out, will ya? He glanced over his shoulder. Yeah, over here. Hey, could you open the door, please? I can't. I'm in detention. I'm not supposed to talk to anyone. Go away. He turned from me. Confused and exasperated, I began to stand up. A loud bang shattered the silence once more. I realized it sounded like a fist being pounded against glass. My window. I heard it again, but this was not the frantic knocking of somebody wanting to get inside. This wasn't even an attempt to break in. Whatever was beyond that curtain and glass knew I was inside. It knew I was frightened. In the most predatory and sadistic way possible, it wanted me to be afraid. I turned back to the door and began hammering on it frantically. Hey, let me in, okay? I really need you to open this door. Hey, kid. Psst. Come on, kid. Crap!
There was only one rule. If you hear tapping, don't look out the window. I didn't believe them. I got curious and now I'm being pulled out of a window.
It was about 12:15 when I, got to the Johnson County Community Health Clinic. Yeah, we called it the JWCHC. And I was there, because I had an appointment. And I set this thing up weeks ago. Just a little routine checkup or whatever. And it wasn't, a new place for me. I've been there a whole bunch of times before. Now, the place had a weird kind of feel that just took you back to the old days. It's like it was a location from my childhood, something like that. It's like, just always felt like I've been there before. And I could never really put my finger on exactly what the feeling was or where it came from, but I just knew that I felt it. Now, when I walked in, I felt this feeling of just like deja vu sweep up over me. And, they had them fluorescent lights and they had their little hum going, and the floor had this white tile, and it was just like a little raggedy like beige paint on the walls. And I seen that it was a TV mounted up in a corner, a little small flat screen, and it was playing a little PowerPoint presentation thing, and it had ads up there and events that was being held by the clinic and stuff. Now I passed the little empty waiting area and a small area of the main room with magazines and stuff and children play things and little blue cushion chairs and stuff. And I come up on this lady at the front desk, and she was sitting in like this bluish gray office chair and looking at a spreadsheet on the same like Windows XP desktop that they had back since when they had XP, that was back when I was in high school, man. So I got up to the lady, and it was a sign-in sheet on the counter. So I started filling out, and I told her I had an appointment with Dr. Peebens. And she was like, what time? And I'm like, 12:30. And then she started typing something on her keyboard, and she said, okay. Gary Johnston? I said, yeah, that's me. She said, okay, I'll tell the doctor you're here. Please fill this out. Now, she handed me a clipboard, and, just your basic little, form to fill out and stuff. So I walked back to that waiting area, sat down, took a seat, and started filling out the form. Now, I'm about halfway done filling in my information, and I slumped back in the chair a little bit because I really ain't getting no sleep the night before. I was up, we had a night little party, man. I was getting my party on last night. But anyway, so I sat back and I seen something real weird, man. It's like, my head never hit the wall. And really it felt like my head went through the wall. So I'm like, I'm expecting to lean back and feel some, the wall, and all of a sudden I don't feel nothing. So I jumped up looking crazy, and I'm looking at the wall, and I don't see nothing. Not a hole in the wall, no dent in the wall. And I'm like, man, I know. I leaned back, and the wall right behind me, so I should have hit the wall. And I'm looking at the wall, and the wall here, so why didn't my head hit it? And I gotta, man, in heads, I gotta, look, my head's so big, it don't make no sense, man. I'm talking about, I ain't never even been able to wear a hat. I ain't never even seen a hat I could wear. Every time somebody got a hat and I try to mug on, it's like man, it ain't even, it's like the little thing that the Jewish people be wearing, man. It's like one of them things on my head, man. So, I don't know what size hat I wear. I gotta figure that out. People be like, well, you ain't an 8. I guess I'm somebody told me I might be like a 12 or 14. But I take pride in my big head, man. That's why I'm so smart. And my lady told me when I wake up, my head be 2-3 times bigger than it usually is. But anyway, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, man. So I reach out and touch the wall, and my fingers went right through the wall. So I jumped back on some scared stuff. I'm like, man, what was that? My voice got all high, man. And I thought, so I gotta be tripping. So I reached and touched the wall again, and the same thing happened. Again, my fingers went right through it. Now, all of a sudden, I lost my balance and tripped and fell straight through the wall. And I fell like face first onto some dirty tan carpet. Now, once I got back up, I realized that I was in a whole nother room. Not really a room, but it was like more like a set of rooms. Like each room led to another room, but it was all one big room. And all, cause the doors, there were no doors. It was like each room was just open, man. You know, it's kind of like how in the office space and everybody be in the office building and they got their little computer, they little, what you call them little cubes they be sitting in or whatever. It's like they, you know, the room was like that. It was just a bunch of mini spaces or whatever, man. But anyway, and the walls was just covered in this like tan patterned wallpaper, man. And it stank, man. And the walls was kind of grungy and stuff. And it was like, and the stank was like the old, like a mildew stank. Like when you know, something get wet and you don't get it out and it just stay wet, and then you go find it a couple of weeks later and that junk just got that mildew smell. That's what it smelled like, man. And I turned back around. I tried to put my hand back through the wall, but it wouldn't go back through. So now I'm like, man, bro, what going on in here? Man, I can't. So I'm really I'm low key finna panic, and I'm trying to stay cool, but I'm really getting ready to panic, man. So I turn around and look back into the room, and there wasn't no windows, no doors, nothing on the walls, just a, you know, stinking wallpaper or whatever. And it was just completely empty, man. Like the only thing, you know, it was like a plastic blue school chair was the only thing I could see in there. So now at this point, the only thing going through my head was just not just regular fear. Like this was ultimate super duper fear. This was fear. I was so scared that I can't even put it in words, man. That's all I can tell you. I can't even put it in words, man. And I just kept, my mind just said, bro, you gotta get out of here, bro. You gotta get out of here, bro. You gotta get out of here. And it's just like in my head, just over and over, man. And I started running through the rooms, man. Just, I'm moving and grooving. Now I got lost. I can't remember what room I first came in there. And I'm just moving to each room, and each room looked just like the last room. And I'm sorry, and I couldn't find no way out of nothing, man. So now I start thinking like, you know, this is it. I'm finna die. I'm finna die up in this place, man. I'm finna starve to freaking death up in this place. And my plan, I had them wings. I went and got some wings from this place. You know, I'm down here in ATL, but they do them just like Chicago, man. I had the wings. I was gonna go over there and get me about a 50 piece out of myself, man. And now I'm sitting up here thinking I'm finna starve to death up in this place, man. And it had to be, I'm like trying to reason with myself, like, bro, it gotta be a way out of here. You know, I wasn't just gonna be left up in here forever. It's impossible. Ain't no place just a forever place like this, man. You know, somebody gonna see I'm gone, and you know, the doctor should be looking for me. You know, something gonna happen. But ain't nothing ever happened. Nobody ever called, came, or nothing. And, you know, I had my phone on me, but of course, you know, when you're in a horror movie situation, you don't get no signal. And every time I tried to call out, I just got that like some kind of stupid little beeping type noise, like the, you know, the no signal noise or whatever. And now just when I started to just, like I was finna break down in tears, I heard something from a little bit away. Some footsteps, man. But not no normal human footsteps. You know, it was like I don't know, it just sounded, the pattern wasn't right. You know, it wasn't like the way humans walk. It just didn't sound like 1 2 1 2 or whatever, or 1 2. It was weird, man, just off. almost like they was dragging their foot something. So now I'm like, this thing, whatever it is, sound like it's dragging his foot. And I could hear like a gurgling, like a type, like a gurgling zombie type noise, man. So now I ain't gonna say that I ain't gonna say I ran. I runned it. I runned it, man. I runned it like ain't nobody ever runned it before in the history of running. I was moving through them rooms left and right, hitting my elbow and stuff, keep going, jam my toe. Everything, I'm still moving. Nothing making me stop, man. So now I'm starting to feel myself get tired, and I'm just running, trying to push through it. But eventually, it's only so much, man. The human body only built for so much. So I finally just kind of fell out, and I was still trying to crawl and just do the best I could, man. It seemed like I was running for days, man. And no matter where I went, I just still kept ending up in the same rooms over and over. At least it looked like the same room. I couldn't tell the mugs apart, not really. And I sat down, man. I'm just defeated, man. And this feeling of fear just continued to just be all up in me, man. I started crying, man. And I knew I was going to die up in here. And I'm still here. And I haven't left from up in here. And I done just accepted my fate, man. Matter of fact, those footsteps come every now and then. And I realized that if I just run for a little bit, he'll leave me alone. But sooner or later, I ain't gonna have the energy to run from that man no more. And I'm gonna have to face him. And when I do face him, I'm gonna beat the dog mess out that boy.
And that's it for Day 15, Horror Fam. I hope tonight's stories left you feeling uneasy, whether it was the relentless knocking, the chilling tapping, or the mind-bending terror of the Backrooms. The unknown can be the scariest thing of all. And sometimes, it's best to just leave doors and windows closed. But remember, the scares don't stop here. Tomorrow brings even more spine-tingling tales. So be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join us for Day 16 of our Halloween Marathon. Until then, stay spooky, stay safe, and as always, make sure you take good care of yourselves, because you are so special.